Oh.
So welcome everybody to Connectivity Cafe. I'll just grab this. Welcome to our online guests and also to our on-site guests. Welcome to Connectivity Cafe. This might be your first time to Connectivity Cafe, so I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Dr. Sam Horseman. I am the JCU Innovation and Industry Lead. I also conduct and lead the CANS AI Hub and the chairperson for the AI Consortium. So it's great to have everybody join us today. We've got online guests as well as on-site guests. So thank you for joining us. Special shout out to our women in IT joining us today. So thank you for joining us. And also we have our interns called the Mind Scrapers, a combination of data science, Masters of Engineering, Masters of IoT, Bachelors of IT, and Masters of IT. So welcome everybody and to our founders and residents. Before we start our session today, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land in which we meet today, the Jagubai Yuraganji and the Gumai Yudinji people. And we also pay our respects to the elders past, present, and emerging. Today, we've got a great lineup of a panel, and Hilary and myself will be leading the panel. It's more like a fireside chat. And I believe you've brought some great ideas to look at feasibility, validity, and also to think about how we can actually utilize AI at the early stages of ideation and discovery. So that's the focus of our panel. And I also have the opportunity to invite Jared, who will be conducting our AI Bite for today. So every Connectivity Cafe, we always like to engage a artificial intelligence update or what we need to know or what we should be thinking about for this week. And I've invited Jared, who is the co-founder of the Hello World AI, who presented last week. Thanks again, Jared. So over to you, Jared.
Thanks, Sam. This week, I think the big topic in AI really has been twofold. So the first one on data security, Anthropic, one of the biggest AI companies in the world, leaked their code base for their agentic AI system called Code, which is pretty much the best thing available for coding agents. So that was, functionally open sourced. Everyone grabbed a copy, and there's some pretty cool stuff out there now. Recompiling it into different languages, deploying it locally, things like that. The second one is Google just ahead of schedule alongside this leak, open source Gemma 4, which is pretty much, it does about 80% intelligence of ChatGPT, and that's fully open sourced. NVIDIA's then quantized that to run on NVIDIA GPUs at a really high performance. So right now, like, your open source coding agent stack is never been better. So if you are spending the hundreds of dollars a month on Claude Code, maybe have a look at not doing that anymore.
Amazing. Thank you. Thanks very much. Also, an announcement. We want to put our hands together and congratulate Sach Moga, who actually graduated last week at our graduation ceremony and is doing remarkable work here at the JCU Ideas Lab and our JCU founders and residents. And Sach has accepted my invitation to do his amazing graduate speech that he actually completed last week at ceremony. So we're going to do a do-over with cap and robe, right? And Sach is going to actually go through his graduate commemoration speech that he did publicly at the graduation ceremony. So thank you, Sach. Appreciate that. Amazing. We're going to head into our panel discussion, but just for a reminder, for those of you that are here, we're going to run through a discussion around ideation, discovery, looking at validity and feasibility of a great idea. And then we're going to pause and have some questions. Feel free to ask questions for those of you that are online. And then what we're going to do is complete today's Connectivity Cafe with a networking session. And we also have in the audience, we have finance in residence. So James, do you mind just standing up so everyone knows to go and have a discussion with James if you really need to think about your financial models, looking at pricing, looking at financial literacy, please reach out to James and make sure you have a conversation after or throughout the networking session today. So we've put up a Menti because we'd love to hear from you before we start our discussions around what tools are you using? And does anybody have a great idea that they're currently working on that they'd like to share and work through the process? Anybody has a great idea? We are in the JCU Ideas Lab, hint, hint. But we'll revisit that as we go through today's session. If we don't have a live idea, we can always hypothesize. But if there's any idea that comes online, Ramona is overseeing. You've got an idea there, Igor? Great. We'll come back to you. Hold that. And we'd love to take you through some questions. All right. So if you don't mind sharing, either online or here on site, do you currently use generative AI to evaluate your business idea? And we thought we'd discuss this particular question first to see, what do we have in the audience? So here we go, Hilary.
Yeah, I'd love to hear what Gen AI tools people are using right now and how effective they're finding them as well. Does anybody have any tools that they're using that they want to talk about? No? Okay, yeah, at the back. Okay, I'll just repeat it so that people online can hear what I think I heard. You're using Mass and Chat GPT. Okay. Okay. Okay, anybody else?
Now we missed Copilot and various other
Copilot and other AI. Extremely handy. Yeah. Anybody else?
I know Brian and Paul are always working on various different generative AI tools. So what are you currently using as you go through our internship?
Gemini, Notebook. Yeah, searches.
Excellent. And are we seeing anything online, Ramona? Okay.
Claude and ChatGPT. Awesome.
Very good. Excellent. We just wanted to get a level set of where everybody is and to find out. So it's really interesting because everyone, I think if we did this last year or year before, we'd have different results, don't you think? And now we're seeing yes, which is wonderful. Last year, if we asked the same question, or maybe 24, it would be like, not sure yet, just testing the waters. But now we're all using these tools, which is fantastic, which makes this conversation really insightful because you're all currently using these tools as a day-to-day operations. Is there yeah. Oh, sure. There's a QR code. If you haven't voted yet, if you'd like to let us know. It's just good to know first, where are you at and what tools are you using in order to position this conversation? Now we know the tools everyone's using. It's great to be able to reflect back on those tools. And in Startup Speak, know your customer, know your audience. which is what we're doing right now. Thanks for sharing. Was there anything else, Ramona, online? Recraft AI. Thank you for sharing. Right, we're getting more responses coming in, as you can see. We've got quite a few online today. Fantastic. All right. Let's have a look at the results, see if they've stayed the same. Who predicts there's going to be more yeses? Yeah. Okay, all right. So we do have a few that are still not sure, which is great because you've come to the right place. And it's a great place to have those discussions and to explore more. And there's also a no. And again, that's a great discussion to have. So thank you for sharing where everybody is. And we'll continue now to think about next steps. So predominantly, we've got yeses. Last month, we reflected on what particular factors or core factors lead to success for business and startups. And if you remember, we looked at these reflective factors, looking at, do you know your market? Do you have enough cash flow? Do you have the right team? And here, the team is not just human, it's also your agentic net workflow, right? Your agents now. So do you know your competitors? Do you have the correct pricing models? Do you have a robust marketing strategy? Do you have an actual robust business model that's feasible, that's valid? And then not only do you have the right team, whether it be human in the loop or agents, but do you have the right team to deliver, which is a really interesting question. So reflecting on this is what we worked on last month. So I'm curious to hear from Hilary in relation to, for those of you that are just starting out, that have got a great idea, and I think, Joe, you've got a great idea. Somewhat. Is it half-cooked, semi-cooked? It's out. Congratulations. Still testing. This is a great question. Yeah. So Joe's got a great idea that we've been chatting about, and Igor's got a great idea which we'll reflect upon. But I'm curious to hear from Hilary, if you're just starting out with an idea, and remember you're sitting in the ideas lab, what factors do you think are critical to ask? And then we'll get to the AI piece, because I think it's important to think about a reflective framework that will then help you guide and build AI.
Just had a pretty wholesome voice and
So I don't think AI
and
has to ever come first. It's a tool. It's like a hammer. It's how you use it. So I think one big thing is not using AI for AI's sake, but actually having a purpose and AI being useful in that. And the same thing for your idea. Your idea shouldn't be just coming out of an AI, chat. It should be actually something that's a problem you want to solve, that you're going to spend an enormous amount of time, effort, everything else working on, that you should be passionate about. And that passion should also mean that you're actually going to spend time with customers, because when we talk about idea validation, it's really, is there a person at the end of the day, or a company, or whoever your end customer is, that's actually going to use it, value it, to a point where they're going to pay for it, so that you can actually have a business out of this. So I think really when we look at those questions, if you can't get to a customer, or there's a reason why it's not going well with your customer discovery initially, AI can help you with that reflection of whatever it might be. So if it's that you're asking them to spend money in a way that they've never spent before, then you can find out what are the priorities of the customer that are outside of this. You can ask the chatbot, have theories, and then actually test them with customers. So if it's something that they're already spending on, then why will they switch to you? So what is the advantages? What are the problems, or what are the challenges you're going to have to get them to switch to whatever idea you're bringing or you think will be valued? And so I feel like if we can make this a bit less ethereal, but actually more tangible, that's probably a good thing for people. So I don't know if we should switch to that now, or we want to do that more.
I'll just add one comment.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. And I think having conducted multiple Impact 10X AI simulators, on day one, we usually have a lot of our participants really excited about a great idea. And then we actually ask, have you looked at, is there a need? What problem are you solving? Have you spoken to the customer, which is what? So it's not just about having a great idea and what you want to build. It's looking at these 4 core drivers in relation to your idea. And I think more and more we're seeing founders, who's following MedV? $1.8 billion medical spin-out startup. Guess how many in their team? The 2 Gallagher brothers, and the rest are agents. So we're changing, AI is changing the team dynamic of startups. So I just thought, we need to be thinking about what our team looks like as we start to look at a great idea. All right, Igor, you're up. You've got a great idea.
Yeah, you use the power of the room, right?
And yeah, bring him up.
Yeah, let's use the power of the
Could we invite you up, please, Igor, and then we'll hear from Joe. Yep.
Yeah, this is just something I've cobbled together my own solution. So I use Evernote for my own daily journaling, just to reflect what's going on in my world. And what I've been doing is actually taking it a step further. I've been using sort of voice transcription in Evernote to transcribe it and then copy and paste into Claude, and then ask Claude to help me go deeper on these journal entries. I just thought, obviously that's a very manual heavy way to do it. I think there could be a really good opportunity for some kind of AI-based journaling solution that still allows you to keep your own data and doesn't share it with anyone. So very high on privacy, perhaps using some of the open source solutions out there.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that's a very interesting use case, and clearly based on a problem that you've been facing in terms of doing it as effectively as possible. So how would you could go to an AI chatbot. What prompts would you put in it to kind of do his next steps to see whether it's an idea that's you want to spend more time doing?
I guess the first stage would be to find out sort of the total available market, the TAM. So just trying to understand what proportion of the population actually do actively journal. And within that pool of people, how many actually journal digitally? So yeah, trying to understand that. And then maybe, because it's one of those things where until you've experienced AI-assisted journaling, you don't really understand the value of it and how much deeper it helps you to go. So it's something that perhaps I would sort of develop some rough prototype, or even just use what I'm using now and test it out on people and see if they can see the value as well.
I think that's a really good step if you find that there's enough validity to actually think about how many people could also benefit from it. But I feel like one step that you can do even before that is see what tools they are existing out there already, because I think there's actually a few tools in that space. And so if you did a search for them and you could, compile it with the features, benefits, and stuff and compare it to your current one, and then actually give them a try. Like, I think if it's something that you can be the customer of, you can actually sign up and try it yourself and see why you wouldn't use this, or because a lot of times the world is so big now with 8 billion people, it might already exist already in the world. So and if it exists and nobody's using it, then is there a failure in terms of their marketing, or why didn't they reach you with an ad beforehand? But if they are doing really well and they are growing, then it becomes a question of, do you really want to do this, or how would you differentiate what you're doing? Would be, I think, the next steps there.
And it's quite interesting you mentioned prompting, but we're talking about prompting. It's more delegating now, right? We're moving from prompting to delegating to agents, agentic workflow. So is this how do you think that you could further look at competitors? Because I think there's a few out there right now. So have you had a chance to look into that?
Yeah, like I said, this is a brand new,
Yeah.
just something that came up over the weekend. I haven't done any research yet. So
It's good. No. Just for next steps.
yeah, next step. So
Yeah.
I would obviously, definitely find out what's out there before like even attempting to build anything. Yeah, and find out what they're doing well, what they're not doing so well, and whether that is good enough substitute to what I'm doing now. Like, I'd be curious to see if there's anything out there that actually transcribes voice. So adding that extra step, not just text, because I think that's a really powerful way. And you could obviously just journal straight into Claude, but then there's a lot of like data privacy issues, and people don't want their personal data scraped and that kind of thing. So that's kind of the So yeah, you have to find out, do a bit of a SWOT analysis.
And also to think about the vibe coding, which is Adam here today? Adam's working on Threadling, which is that storybook AI generation through either text or voice, and then bringing it into a world where you could then create it relatable to those that read and pick up from LLM, so the sentiment analysis, and build it into the story. So that's another good conversation to have. Round of applause for Igor. Thank you. Which brings me to my next question for Hilary in relation to, obviously, you've got a great idea and you've spoken to friends and families and fools, and they've said, go for it, it's amazing. And Hilary and I had this conversation where you really need to think about, are you solving a real problem? Is there a market need? Is it valid? Is it feasible? In Impact 10X, we use RWW. Is it real? Is it worth it? Will it win? And these are the type of questions that you can, flip into to any, obviously context. But I'm just wondering if you think it's important to think about the funding piece at this point.
I think that there's two things to add on to that list, which is this a problem that I want to spend the next like 5 to 10 years working on? Because everybody has this dream that the startup's going to be instantly successful tomorrow, and they're going to sell it for a lot of money, or it's suddenly going to be. But the reality is, 1 in 3 will make it, and they will be spending excess amount of time and years working on it. So is it a problem I foresee and want to spend that time doing? And then the funding question is thinking about what problem you're solving and how much money it requires and what kind of money. So what I'm trying to say is, if you want to invent a vaccine, that is a very different funding than creating a journaling where you can use off-the-shelf things to at least do a prototype to get started. You know what I mean? So I think the funding model should be something that you're either willing to go through, or it aligns with what your capabilities currently are. That doesn't mean that if you're doing vaccine, you shouldn't do a vaccine, but it probably means you might want to do it through a university where you're supported, where there's grants, where there's people that can help you structure that a lot differently. And you will probably not have 100% control, because that will mean you need investors, which will mean giving up control. Whereas for some innovators, control is really important. And so doing things that they can 100% fund to get off the ground is more important to them. So I think funding is somewhat that word that everybody hates. It depends, but it does depend on what problem you're solving. And to some degree, you can pick a problem which suits what you're looking for better, if that makes sense.
And AI is not your friend. So it can be brutally honest, right?
Yeah.
And we always do that so that you can have those brutal questions. Your family, friends, and fools are all going to go, great idea, go for it, right? But if you think about it, if you're using Grok, if you're a Claude user, if you're ChatGPT 5.4, all the tools that we heard this morning, that's going to give you the true feedback, right? So I think that's a great tool.
Yeah.
Would you like to speak to that?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I really want to echo that your friends, family, and fools and people in your network will always tell you, for the most part, will always tell you you have a great idea or the merits of your idea. Whereas you can use ChatGPT or Perplexity or whatever tool, Claude, whatever you like, to actually give you more of the real truth. And even if it's not a human, right? So it's not going to actually know, but you can say, hey, I've sent out 100 test emails to customers. Nobody's replied. Here's what I've sent them. Here's what I'm trying to do. Give them enough context and say, what hypothesis, why might customers not be responding, and see what they say. Because a person might not be like, your idea sucks, or it's too expensive, or it's not enough value for it. But somehow it coming from an AI makes it a little bit easier maybe to tolerate, and you can disregard it if you want. But using it for negative feedback can be a really useful way of using AI. And it's, it's not going to give you the answers, but it can give you possibilities that are tough conversations that a lot of humans maybe don't want to have. So that's definitely one way that it's really useful. The funding in terms of like how much personal money you want to put into it and creating boundaries, obviously talking to a financial person is the best way to go about it. But if you're really early on, you can also create a financial plan of like, I'm going to budget or constrain myself to X amount, and talk through how much you want to actually spend or how much it would cost you to test the idea, and break down boundaries of which you're going to give space to this, if that makes sense. So I'm going to spend this much budget to kind of constrain the idea to start with.
So what happens if the AI hallucinates and says something that's not quite right? What do you do then, right?
I personally love Perplexity because it gives links, and I'm one of those people that actually clicks on the links, and so reads it. But nothing should overwrite real customers and real revenue, because that is actually what's going to make your business fail or succeed, not an AI telling you what hypothetical marketing or anything else would work. So I think remembering it's just a tool, and that in the end you have to use your brain and actually build a business which can't exist in a vacuum of AI, but actually needs to exist in the real world, would be the most important thing.
So what we've got up on screen now is the list of core drivers in relation to asking those really important questions, and to also work with this as your format as you have those conversations with your preferred generative AI platform, to really think about what those core drivers are. So if you don't mind sharing your thoughts. So we've got a grid here, we've got a matrix On the Y axis, we've got the impact. And then on the X, we've got the effort. So we're asking you this particular question because it's insightful for you to think about in relation to your current idea. So we heard from Igor. Joe, I think, was going to come up, but I think he had to go back to the electrical lab. But we'd like to hear from you in relation to these core drivers, in relation to impact that you think it will have in relation to your idea and the effort it's going to take for you as a founder. And in the context of what we've just had this discussion on is leading and leveraging generative AI as a tool to help you go through these core drivers and ask those questions and keep prompting and keep thinking around that. So again, I'll just see what, oh, okay, we've got an interesting blend there. So for those of you that think up in the corner in relation to effort, impact, how would you rate them? And remember what we're doing as part of our work, for part of the ongoing work is our Impact 10X. So if this has really generated some thinking, some ideas, what I think would be great is if you have your idea and you'd like to go through a really intensive 3 days, and you'd like to go through a 10-sector innovation value chain where you are able to link in various generative AI tools and have those conversations. So for those of you that would like to have this conversation, continue this conversation, and to have more thoughts and ideas around taking your idea to reality in those 3 days, we do have 2 simulators already ready to receive participants. And we're also having a discussion with Brisbane right now. But at the moment, we've got 2 simulators, one in June, and that's going to be in Townsville. And then we have another simulator in Gladstone. We're going to Gladstone as a sponsored Impact 10X with CQU, and we're launching a simulator there with more industry around it. So again, this is a great opportunity to, hopefully this has instilled some different conversations. I'm just going to check, Ramona, if there were any questions online, and Joe's come back. Did you want to come and share your idea? You'll need to, because we've got online guests. And then if we have anyone online, Ramona, to any questions. There you go.
Yeah, I'm not a big speaker, so bear with me.
That's okay. I'm with you.
So pretty much it's an AI-focused research workspace where if you're like looking for sources for a thesis or a report you guys are working on, or assignment, my startup called Schoolize, still learning how to pronounce it properly, but I came up with the idea since some of my friends in nursing and med, they were having trouble finding sources for their assignment and stuff, like real sources with real data and with peer-reviewed backed up information. And then I went out, looked at solutions out there already, like Google Scholar and Litmaps, but they were like, it wasn't well organized and you can't citate them well. And to get the full workflow of your sources, it's pretty, like you have to manage everything, while my startup pretty much manages all the sources for you, finds, sorry, not a bit.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
Finds, scrapes multiple APIs and Claude as the backend for the research question you pass in, and finds you sources related to that research question, pretty much, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Sorry.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So something similar to Notebook LM or more
I
advanced
haven't
with
used
Claude.
Notebook LM as much,
Mm.
but yes, something similar. So you pass in a research question and then scrapes the sources, and then you can save those sources into your workspace, into your project, and it does the referencing for you in text referencing. It has features like draft check, evidence table, all that, so you guys can. So it has this with your assignment.
Amazing. Great. Excellent. Thank you. Right, we're gonna go through our framework. Thank you very much. So I'll leave that next step over to Hilary.
Yeah. Sounds like a very interesting idea. So it feels kind of like Pinterest, but for doing your research project where you get to save what's going to be useful in terms of the research you see, and you get suggestions of what research is in that same vein of conversation, which is really useful because there's and you're targeting the medical. So you're targeting anybody that does research, probably people in universities doing their PhD or master's in any field, but it's more that you are able to create a validation layer of the quality of the research meets a certain threshold and an ability to actually cite it, save it, and not have it just in piles of printed half. Yeah. Hallucinations. Yeah. Yeah. So you might type in, so if you were to think about it in terms of who your target audience is, it's going to be master's and PhD students. So when you look at them as a target audience, what's really great is you know exactly where they are and how to target them. And you probably have an unfair advantage. You're here, so you also have access to a lot of them. But maybe one of the things you could ask is, what would be the challenges of targeting or using those as your customer, your primary audience? And you might find that, for example, they're very hard to get money out of. As a general rule, they're not usually a target audience that's really easy to charge money. So maybe the actual target might become universities or schools or somebody who actually has willingness to pay, because I have a feeling that those audience, while you're making the tool for them, they're the kind of people that would hack together something themselves or use these different ones because they might not be willing to pay. So I guess the question I would have is, you've put something together right now. Are you charging people right now for it? Okay. Yeah. You're doing a freemium with the amount of like credits or searches with it. Yeah. And then how many people right now are using the paid? Okay. And so have you got a lot of people using the free version?
Yeah.
Okay. And have they hit their limits? Okay. So that would be like, if you were to ask a question like, what are the key stats I should look at for this? That would be one of them. And the interesting thing would be is when you look at the analysis is, when they hit their freemium, do they just stop using it until it resets? And if that's the case, then you know with your idea you need to work on what will actually make them convert to paid, because the challenge with a freemium is always you want to keep them in the free tier, but if they're just going to keep costing you money without ever converting, not good. But maybe there are ways you can get them to actually convert, or maybe you can get them to invite more people on because you're going for mass adoption. And so they get extra credits if they refer 5 people or something like that. So how can you use those freemium people in ways that are going to be beneficial to you would be, I think, if I was to use AI, is where I'd push you to go.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe. Well done.
Yeah. And thank you both to Igor and both
Yeah.
of you, Joe, to being guinea pigs, because it's not, it's, you know, going up in front of a large group of audience and being willing to have your idea tested and take feedback live is really brave. So extra clap for them.
Amazing. Just reaching out to see if there's any other questions or insights. What about anyone else in the audience that, or some of our founders that are really navigating AI around feasibility, validity, looking at market opportunities, looking at various other different criteria that we've mentioned? Does anyone else have anything that they would like to, John?
Yeah, thanks, Sam. And this might be a bit of action replay for some of the people who might have been here some months ago. You might remember, Sam, one of the ideas that I've had for some time involves trying to make employment, that's employment of people in organisations, a bit simpler and less bureaucratic. It's an issue where I've been involved probably all my working life, which you can tell by looking at me as a long time. Okay, so one of the issues is really small employers don't have the capacity to navigate often around the complexity of employing the right person on the right terms and the right conditions under Fair Work or under the Fair Work Act. And given that a lot of small organisations don't have HR resources, which is my speciality, I constantly are doing the bureaucratic and decision-making processes that involve employing people on the right conditions, under the right award, and subject to the right sort of policies that applied legally. So one of the areas to simplify perhaps 18 steps of employment, which I've documented, is to perhaps use a tool like Agentia. And Kate Fabian, for example, you know, Kate, she's thought that that's quite a useful AI agent that can be developed. I haven't taken it much further at this stage because it's a major project. And I know, you know, the point that you make about competitors, there are a few people trying this around Australia at the moment. And I've been mentioning this on LinkedIn, for example. So it's going to happen in some way, but I've got so much low-hanging fruit in terms of work with clients, and that pays the bills. Okay, so, you know, it's a research project which I can have the content knowledge to progress, but I really need a very good AI people who have got really good technical skills. So I just put that out there. And a couple of months ago, there was a gentleman who was doing a bit of research for you who showed how it can be done, actually. So I thought that was very useful.
Excellent. Thank you, John. And so, yeah, reaching out across our network on that. And I was at Adapt Data Science and AI Edge last week in Sydney, and there was that great conversation around agents as a service. So SaaS, agent as a service, that's what we're seeing now in agentic workflows. And this is definitely something, you know, top of mind. So if anyone's in that space, have a chat to John, because it sounds like you need that agentic workflow built into that system. Thomas, did you want to mention something? Fantastic. And we're just going to wrap this up as the last one. Thank you.
It's just a reflection and a question.
Thank you.
And that is, we had a discussion a while back, how these tools kind of make us all say the same and produce the same. So if we are using for brainstorming and product development and research, etc., I think it's super important that we are humans and we put in our original thinking and not just kind of let it go. And I think you know how it prompts you to constantly want to say what is better and not what you say yourself. So a reflection back to you. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think it's like the old adage, it's a hammer. It can be used to build a house or break a window. So obviously you're still the human. So you're still the one who has to control it, and you still have to point it in the right direction. So to your point, it's never like you are the CEO of your business, so you should be the driver. And so that like all of what we're talking about is enabling you to go faster, find things out hopefully sooner, and maybe being a check there as a agent to give you negative feedback or to help you triage or to help you reflect on, are you spending time in the right places? But at the end of the day, you're absolutely right that, and I hope that's really clear, that you are the human, so you still need to do it in a way. And so like in a case of like HR, you probably want to have a human in the loop for a long time because there's, legal issues that could arise if, there's compliances that are there. And, even with bringing in agentic agents, like you've seen companies like IKEA, I don't think an AI bot told them to reuse their agents to become consultants, but that's what they did. They took their support people, they reduced the support needs through using agentic agents, and they took all their support people and put them as consultants, which help you design your kitchen. And through that, increase their sales exponentially. So I think that the ideas and the usage still has to be human driven, but it can help you trigger an idea. And I think a lot of times the best ideas are still coming from somebody seeing a result and thinking, that's not right. That's not exactly right. ChatGPT or whatever it is didn't get that right, but it sparks the ideas of something else. And that's the same with the negative feedback. You might not agree with it totally, but it sparks an idea too of like, okay, maybe I should try it this way, if that makes sense. So I think that that's really where it's a tool. It's not the be and end all.
And I agree with Hilary. And also to your point, Thomas, I think you bring this up, is that we also need to co-develop with our customers, and that basically are human customers that have creativity, right? You're really going to be differentiated when you do that. And a lot of us do alpha and beta testing and prototyping towards your MVP, and that's where you get that creativity back. So where's Joe? Oh, Joe's back in his electrical lab now, but there you go. Yeah. So building all that in, and I think that co-development, for those of you that do co-develop with your customer, that's where you're going to differentiate. I'm wondering who else thinks that this is definitely a good strategy, and hopefully you'll build that into your solution. I think we're going to wrap it up there, unless, Ramona, do we have anything else online? Great. Thank you so much for contributing this morning. We had a great discussion. Next week, we have our Connectivity Cafe again. For those of you that joined us for the first time, we'd love to welcome you back. Same place, same time, same channel. And who do we have on our list for next week, Ramona? Cam. Yay. Cam, did you want to come up and give us a bit of a teaser about joining us next week? Or you might be traveling. Okay, no worries. But anyway, have the spotlight. Tell us a little bit about our Whatzilla. Yeah.
Good morning. I'm on the spot. My name's Cameron. I'm the global lead for Whatzilla in the R&D space, and I'm located here in Cairns. And I've just put a small office up there in the top right-hand corner. As a little teaser, we build VTS, which is Vessel Traffic Services, which is very similar to air traffic control. So when you see a big air traffic control tower, generally a port's got a very similar one inside the port. We've got about 350 of these deployed across the globe at the moment. And we've started to build that technology here at the JCU Ideas Lab. So looking forward to meeting you all over the course of why Whatzilla is here. And hopefully next week I will be talking, but at the moment I do need to travel. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Cam. So just to give you a perspective, our portfolio is growing. So Cam just shared about the company Whatzilla, and Whatzilla is actually in our industry and residence portfolio. So we're actually bringing industry partners inside our portfolio where we continue to develop, also thinking about future trends and industry here in Cairns, and this is really exciting. Hang on. We have to have this on. Yeah.
Just going on from that, we've purely chosen to invest in Cairns in a small region for that due fact that we see a pipeline of talent that we can get out of places like the JCU Ideas Lab. So in the past 4 months, I've started to fill that office predominantly with alumni from this university or current students. So they're now working for Whatzilla. So yeah, seeking any talent, any full stack developers, shoot your CV my way. Very keen. Thank you. And we couldn't have done it without Sam.
Thanks, Cam. And I think this is an awesome opportunity for Cairns. I mean, you know, this is a $16.7 billion company that's global, that's here in Cairns. Can you imagine? Job creation, economic growth. So now we've got this great opportunity, and it's been amazing to see your team grow here, Cam. So I'm going to look forward to continuing on that journey with you. So on that note, thanks everybody. Please stick around for networking if you wanted to have a chat to James, Finance in Residence, Hilary, Investor in Residence. And if you'd like to generally have a chat with those that spoke up today or would like to present, we'll be sending out our agenda for April and May. And don't forget, we've got Impact 10X. So if you do have a great idea and you want to explore and further develop and convert that idea into an MVP, minimal viable product, or a prototype, you've got 2 great opportunities. We do embed AI into that workflow, so you'll be using some fantastic work that MCP, so a model context protocol, that we've been working on as part of our innovation journey. So thanks, everybody. I'll hand it over to Hilary to close up.
Thanks so much. And go and meet new people, because humans are what we just talked about, make a huge difference. So, yep.
Thanks, everybody. See you next week.